Come on. Everything is fine here on Detention Block A823, a Star Wars podcast. I'm Mike, joined by Dustin, here to talk Star Wars with all you fans out there, getting the business elements out of the way really quick. So hit that subscribe button, give us your likes, downloads, rates, follows, reviews, any of it, all of it. We greatly appreciate it. Any little thing that you can do definitely helps us get our name out there. So
I
also,
prefer that we earn it. Just don't give it to us. Like, let us earn it.
hey, I'll
Mike
take
will
the
get on
gives.
all fours.
I'll take the gives till we get to a certain level, because then it'll be easier to earn it versus
True. Yes.
up
Well,
front. Just need those engagements to get us up there. So one way or another. Speaking of engagement, our chat is up and running. So drop in, give us your thoughts, opinions, or just drop by and say hi if you want to.
we're targeting for a great show, right to the dome,
Yeah.
targeting it. You know, something that doesn't get called in the college football playoffs when it's as clear as obvious as day. But we're targeting for a great episode today.
We're not going to get into that.
I kind of want to.
Well, I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do.
I'm just gonna say this: if that's not targeting, they should just get rid of the rule.
Would I call it targeting? Probably yes. But the only question that I have is, was it led with the crown of the helmet? That's the only portion of it I am not 100% certain on. And if they didn't call it, in order to make that call, you have to be 100% sure.
Oh yeah, they didn't call it for Texas, did they? You
No,
know,
I just said
the,
I would have called it targeting.
I'm just saying the crown jewel of. There's a little conspiracy theory here,
Well,
that I
Texas is in the
kind of
crown
believe
too. You believe Texas is the crown jewel
over
of college?
ASU. Yes.
Okay, well, yeah, but not like over Alabama or Georgia or any of them. There were
Yo,
plenty
Alabama
of
took a huge
calls
step
that
back.
there were plenty of calls that didn't go Texas's way either. So, I mean, arguments can be made both. One play never makes the game.
Also, they completely gave up a touchdown on a 4th and 13. You can't. I mean, you can't do that. So I know. I know. I was just.
Hook 'em horns, baby.
Yeah.
I they're going to get trounced by Ohio State. I'm just going to put that out there. I think it's going to be an Ohio State and Notre Dame final. But
That's what they want.
no, they want Texas in the finals. SEC team, they want Texas. ESPN wants Texas in the finals.
Yeah. Well, it's just because they gurgle up on the
Well,
SEC's
we can
balls.
we can tie this all together with Star Wars because they all fall under the same ownership one way or
Mothership.
another.
Yeah.
Disney owns the SEC network. Disney owns ESPN. Go figure.
I
Disney
think
owns Star
Disney
Wars.
owns my house somehow.
They probably do. They probably do. First off, Happy New Year. This is our first episode for season 5. So we've officially got into season number 5 on our podcast/channels. So Happy New Year to all you fans. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday season, no matter what you celebrate. Hopefully everyone had safe travels and, time with their families or friends and or time off from work in general. So, but now we're back. We're running, ready to talk more Star Wars. We aren't going to quite talk about the most recent episodes of Skeleton Crew. We're just going to kind of keep it a shorter episode today. We're all still winding back from the holidays. Today was my first day back at work. I don't know if you're back at work yet, Dustin.
Yes, yes. I actually worked Monday and Tuesday, but it
Oh,
was
okay.
pretty light, so it's like, why take the vacation day?
Yeah. No, when it's going to be light in the first place. Totally hear you.
I'll be fully honest with you, man. I love the holidays. I love them so much. I'm so glad they're over. I'm just so ready to be back. When you have young kids, getting out of their routine, it just creates so much chaos and randomness in your household. Like, when do they go to bed, or how bedtime's going to go, or like they don't nap. Like, our son does not nap when he's here on the weekends. He naps at daycare, fine,
Mm.
but when he's here, he's got so much FOMO that he's not going to ever nap on the weekends when he's home. So it just creates chaos. So I'm excited just to get back in the routines with life.
Yeah, for sure. You know what also causes chaos? When your 18-month-old catches norovirus the day your family arrives for the
Hmm.
holidays. Because Dustin and I are well familiar with how quickly norovirus spreads back when
Yeah,
we
you
were
fucker. You gave that to me.
rooming together.
I hadn't thrown up in like 15 years. And then you gave me norovirus and I was, pissing, shitting, and puking.
Hey, my wife, Colleen, even came in and like sanitized our whole house before you even caught it, and you still got it.
It's a nasty bug too.
Very
It is
contagious.
tough to avoid. Yeah, very
Yeah.
contagious too.
But
So,
ran through the whole family. Luckily, it was like 24, 48 hours and then it's done. But kind of ruined the Christmas holiday for us. But we still had a good time. We still, you know, we didn't have our New Year's Eve celebration, but we still had our Christmas morning and gift opening and everything. And we just had to have our turkey dinner after everyone left. So I cooked a full turkey meal when it was just Colleen, Jackson, and I. So we have all these leftovers. But um, yeah, glad we made it through to the end of the holidays. I kind of agree. I love the holidays, but especially since we were hosting, it's nice to be on the other side of it and
mhm.
kind of wind back down into our routine, get back into work, get back into the flow of things, get back to watching Star Wars and talking about it too. So, since we were going to just kind of keep this a little short, the two things I kind of want to talk through and look at with you is kind of looking back on the previous year of Star Wars and how what we got makes you feel about going forward, and then looking forward into what's coming with Star Wars. How are you feeling about that as well? So let's start by looking back on 2024. What are the key
Yikes.
takeaways? What are the key takeaways for you?
Oh, whoa, yeah, big yikes. Not a great year to look back. I can't fully close the book on Skeleton Crew, right? Because we haven't seen the end.
Yeah,
Uh,
which I'm still enjoying. I mean,
yeah,
spoiler alert.
yes, yeah, yeah,
We
yeah.
might talk a little bit about it, so I will throw the
Yeah,
spoiler tag out there.
I am enjoying it, but it's not like a marquee show.
No, no, no.
Acolyte was a fucking dumpster fire from start to finish. It was just everything that just Disney could put their spew into shit that they did. And so that's not great. I guess the good news is though, I mean, they seem to have learned their lesson. They took one on the chin and they maybe said, maybe we shouldn't stick our chin out like that. So, I have some hope and optimism for that. I worry so much about Star Wars being in the hands of Disney and what we've seen them do with it. And as fans knowing what they could do with it, meaning how amazing it can be, it's quite disappointing.
Yeah, and I think that's all fair. And I, I think I'm going to kind of go to look into 2025 really quick before going back. But I think to your point of them taking a hit, hopefully it'll force them to make more changes, more aggressive changes that maybe we'll see in 2025, 2026. They're not going to change much of what's already planned, like for 2025. I mean, Andor's,
I just don't want Disney to become the New York Jets, of the Star Wars universe, just constantly fucking things up every year, you know?
yeah. I think, I mean, Disney's never going to give up Star Wars. I have a
I
hard
mean,
time
nor
believing they
should
would.
they. It is a cash cow for them. I just think they really got to think, hey man, like, is the leadership in place going to take us to where we know this property can go? I don't think the answer is yes.
Right. At least anytime soon. Unless they stay in their lane of what is normally Disney content, like Skeleton Crew. That would be a typical Disney-esque show you would have or product that you would have. And it's doing fairly well. So if Disney, from a certain point of view, leans that direction, those will be okay. But then you're going to be, you know, not doing enough for a majority of the fan base, which is where you got to lean more towards like the Andor content. And because they've done something like Andor, means they can do it. Disney has the ability to make great content, but they just haven't really proven it to us yet too much consistently on the Star Wars level. Um, like Bad Batch that finalized this past year, that was a good show. So they continue to do animated shows along those lines of the Clone Wars, Rebels, Bad Batch. Yeah, I still have hope in that kind of content. Um, I'm really nervous about anything moving forward with established characters that we have, like the Skywalker saga content. It's been all misses for the outside. Andor and Rogue One, it's kind of Skywalker, but it's also like completely different characters. So maybe that,
Correct me. We get Andor this year, don't we?
yes,
Yeah. So,
February, I want to say March,
oh wow.
something.
Yeah. So let's come up. I mean, that's something to look forward to big time.
Yeah, but it's only going to be one more season. That we know it's the last season of it. So
This is the last season.
yeah, they're only
Or-
doing two seasons of Andor because this will lead us.
Yeah.
This last season will lead us right up to Rogue One.
I mean, honestly, that's fine because I mean, you knew there was an expiration date on it,
Yeah,
but maybe they could find some spin-offs within it. You know, go follow Andy Serkis's character.
yeah. I mean, they could. Um, I'd be more inclined to follow more into the Ahsoka kind of open ends they left. Go into that new galaxy, bring us completely new original content. You can still have an established character like Ahsoka and, you know, go a completely different direction that Star Wars has never gone. I don't want them to go into Old Republic yet, not until they've proven that they can handle something like that well, because there's too many good stories in that just to fuck up. Like I feel like the Old Republic is all that we have left for like content and stories that we know with hope. And if they touch that and ruin it, it's like, all right, well, now everything's just gonna have to be original content. So
I know technically Acolyte was in some form of the High Republic, but I just don't understand why they don't utilize the time period that they themselves created with their novels. And this is happening more and more. It's always happened in Hollywood, but I feel like I notice it more, which is maybe just I'm older and I'm reading more. Like they're taking books and making them into shows and making them into great movies. Why can they not do that with the books that they themselves have introduced to us?
it's a great question.
I don't like it's there. It's literally there. It's written. So you just have to write a script around these good stories. I mean, you have a great villain in Maki and Ro. You know, even though I know we've criticized the Jedi's decision making, but I mean, the Jedi's decision making has always
I
been
was gonna say
easily
you could say that about the
criticizable.
prequels too. So.
Well, yeah, so I mean, that is a constant theme throughout the Star Wars universe. So, and the only reason it wasn't the original series is because they were kind of gone. You know, like there were no Jedi really around to, you know, there's no Jedi Council to make boneheaded mistakes left and right. So why don't they just do that? Like there's so many examples. Let's just start off. Dark Matter. That was a book that they turned into a show on Apple TV. Silo, same thing. Both incredible. They're turning a book I just read into a movie in 2026. It was called the Hail Mary Project.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. A book I'm reading right now, or a series of books I actually just finished called The Bobaverse.
Okay.
Absolutely incredible. You can't really make it into a movie or show, I
Sure.
don't think. But
Be
like,
tough.
if they could try, it would be incredible. But my point is, you have all these books that they're turning these really good pieces of content. So why don't you do it to the ones you just wrote?
That I wonder, like, do we know how well those were received? Like, how were sales? Because everything's always about money. So I'm wondering if there was, they didn't
I,
hit
I don't.
numbers.
I don't, but
That might
I
be,
think all the books were critically acclaimed. A very positive reaction from fans. I can tell you that. I was one of them.
well, I feel like The Acolyte was critically acclaimed as pretty good, but
No, I
the
don't
fan
think it was
reception was
ever.
different.
Well, okay, two different things. I think the fan reception for the High Republic books has been
Yeah, probably
very,
better.
very
Yeah, yeah,
positive. Now,
yeah,
whether that's backed up by sales, but also it's a way lower dollar investment.
yeah.
So your ROI, I mean, it didn't have to like take off and get the same numbers as a show like Acolyte because
Sure.
the dollar investment's a tiny fraction.
Yeah. Really quickly, shout out to Star Wars Gazer. He says, "Hey y'all, love your background, Mike." Uh, thank you. Happy New Year
Yeah,
to
that
you.
background sucks. I got to work on that.
You'll get there. I have faith in it. Um, Star Wars Gazer. So tell us, what were your thoughts about Star Wars with 2024? What have you learned about it, and what are you looking forward to in 2025? Um, Going back to the conversation with the High Republic, and to your point, I mean, you won't have to invest as much into like the writers and everything because you have the stories already built. It's a safe path. You've had positive enough reception, in our opinion. Why not take a shot at it? What else do you have to risk? I mean, Disney has the money to fork it out. I mean, look how much they spend on the Acolyte. So why not give it a shot? And you're not going to really ruin established characters by going into the High Republic. I would say like probably avoid using Yoda too much, um, or other characters like that. But
I mean, he's like mentioned what twice in the
yeah,
books, maybe like
barely any. Yeah,
so they can easily avoid that, and they developed so many good characters within you know that time period. Elzar Mann is kind of my favorite so far.
yeah, he's
I
kind of that guy
like
that teeters on light and dark, right?
yes. And then you have his not his apprentice, the other guy's apprentice that got killed, Graydon Lodestorm
Low
or something like that.
Lone Greystorm or
But
something. Yeah,
his apprentice. Why am I blanking on his name? But anyway, not the point. The point is great characters, great villain to to build off of. You have it all there. It's like the recipe's there. Why not just take that recipe and make the yummy chocolate cake?
well, and you already have a.
Instead, they're trying to make like gluten-free fucking,
You have the
gluten-free, sugar-free cake. It's not
you
turning out so good.
you have the mystery behind the whole, what was it, like not the Devastator. What are the Jedi killing thing?
The leveler.
The Leveler. Like that is something fascinating. Like,
Hmm.
can we get into that into these movies or stories? I mean, I want to learn more about that because we still haven't gotten you've read further along than I have. You still haven't
There's no
gotten.
resolution on it.
Okay.
No. Yeah, so there's a book after now. So if you remember what they did was so
Yeah.
they put out the first three,
Yeah.
then they went back with one. That was a disaster. I mean,
Yeah. Those aren't that
pointless.
good. Yep.
And then so now the latest book they released that I've read is the uh
Follows the original trilogy of High Republic, right?
yes. Yes. So still follows you have Maki and Rowe still causing havoc.
Yeah.
And now he's emboldened because he had that big win.
Hmm.
So it's a great book. The fourth one's it's really good. So highly recommend. So then you have all this just turned into a movie or a series.
I still think it's hilarious that they didn't even really tie it into the Acolyte show. Like,
Yeah. I mean, like there's two things. They mentioned some
outs.
great disaster,
Yep. And
which is
then what's her face is in it, and that's it.
yeah,
Oh, talk about
yeah.
a miss. Um, so looking towards 2025, what brings you hope, or do you just not have hope
Well,
at this point?
Andor.
Well, yeah, we've talked about Andor. We have hope with that.
What other
Um,
shows are coming out? Because I actually don't know.
they're going to do another Visions.
Okay.
Those, I mean,
They're cool.
they're cool, but not like groundbreaking or lore expanding because they're all non-canon anyways. So
That's like the free bread that you get before your appetizer, you know?
yeah, it's like it'll suffice, but it's not going to do anything that do as much for me. Trying to think if anything else has been announced. I'm sure we'll get something else because they can
Did Stargazer answer your question?
not yet. I'm waiting. I think he's still on though, so he or she, I don't know. Um, but there's going to be more shows. I know that either that or they're just going to be investing into the movies because I think what is it 2020 is it 2025 or 2026 the Grogu Mandalorian
That's
Grogu.
2026.
That's what I thought. So that would
So
probably be around the holiday season of 2026 when that comes out.
yeah, I mean that's a long way off, and I just don't have any faith in
Let's see.
anything that they're gonna do. So here's another thing. I this is this is conjecture and some educated speculation because this is what I've read and heard. But Disney is so overly involved in everything
So it's
involving
like
these
Jerry Jones
movies.
and the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, and to see what happens,
Go to shit.
it's a clusterfuck. So they get themselves so involved into these projects. Too many cooks in the kitchen, I think, is kind of one of the main problems. But then the wrong people making the wrong decisions is added up to these I mean, if you look at or if you see like some of the things that have come out about what Last Jedi could have been and what you know uh, the Skywalker saga ending, what that could have been, and he's just like, man, why did you do that? Oh
Yeah.
yeah, because some C-suite executive said, oh, I don't think that's a good idea.
Even the Kenobi show. I don't think you were with us. I think it was Bogey and I were talking about it. So the original writer for the Kenobi movie that was going to come out, and he was going to make a trilogy movie. The original writer, he shared what his story was going to be and went in depth, and it was phenomenal. It was really, really good. And all they ended up doing was taking bits and pieces of what he initially wrote, turned it into a show, and we got what we got. Like it was
You got
amazing how
a kid hiding in a trench coat.
right, exactly. But he was someone that got into like movie writing because of Star Wars. He was a fan. He had a lot of passion for it. He had, a lot of stake in the game. So like those are the people you need to get writing these stories that understand the passion and the lore. Because I know with some of Disney's directors or producers, they've gone the route of like, let's bring in people that don't really have any attachments or anything to Star Wars, so we can bring in a whole new point of view or mindset. I, I get bringing some people in like that as a consultant, but not the people creating the show or writing the story, because that needs to be your number one focus, in my opinion.
Again, you look at a lot of these pieces of content that are being put out that, let's say, were a book. So a piece of, a book that's now being made into a show. Every one of them that I've seen that have been outstanding are ones where they brought in the creator of the original content, who obviously has reverence for their own creation,
Yeah.
and you're giving them creative, I don't know what the word would be, like you're allowing them to put their
Licensing, creative license.
fingerprints.
Yeah.
You're allowing them to put their fingerprints on it. So in your case, talking about this writer for Kenobi, instead of that, what they do is they say, oh, you can't do this because of that. You can't do this because that. Oh, we're gonna have to scrap this because it's not, it doesn't test well, blah blah blah, all this crap. And then what you get is the Rise of Skywalker, you know,
Yep.
which is
Yeah.
just a convoluted mess.
Stuart Beattie is the guy's name who was going to originally write it. He's an Australian filmmaker who was a writer on an Obi-Wan Kenobi trilogy, spending about a year and a half writing the script for its first film. He actually created the Inquisitor Reva and gave a big role to the clone trooper Cody. We didn't even get clone trooper Cody in 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 the show. But Dustin or any of you listening, look up the interview with Stuart Beattie about his original story for the Obi-Wan Kenobi trilogy he was going to create, and tell me what you think of it, because
Yeah.
it sounds pretty badass. A huge miss, in my opinion, and it's something I think would have put Star Wars back in the right path. But now it's too late. It's like you can't be like, okay, just kidding. Let's go back and recreate his stories. It's too late for that. And it's
It's never too late.
well, and they've killed off, Skywalker, Luke. They've killed off Leia. They've killed off Han. Like they were, Disney was essentially like eliminating all previous ties to the original trilogies or the first six films. And it's like that's just not the path to take. I understand if you want to kind of like lower their role, but like don't eliminate them. And then they have the audacity to be like, well, Rey is the only thing that we have left. That's the future of Star Wars. Well, you made it. You made her the only thing left because you killed off everyone else.
Hmm. Yeah,
But
I get it. Unfortunately, the reality of the situation is also that the actors and actresses playing those roles were dying off, so it kind of put them in a bad situation.
yeah, but you didn't have to recast them.
Yeah, no, that's also true.
I mean, think of all the other movies or franchises that have used new characters and it's done just fine. I mean, I'm by no means am I a huge Star Trek fan, but I didn't mind the new Captain Kirk in the more recent trilogy or four movies that Star Trek had.
Yeah, Chris Pine, is that
Yeah,
who you're
Chris
talking about?
Pine. Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought he was great.
Hmm.
And I mean, the casting they did for Solo, I was totally fine with him. He did great. You could use him in the Solo movie, and then years down the road, use him again as an older Han Solo, like, or Danny Glover. Is that who was the
Yeah, yep.
Lando? They both did
Hmm.
great. You could use them down the road again. So, but now you can't because they're dead. So, well, Lando's not dead, but Han's dead. But, anyways, interesting to see. But I did just look up, and the only thing current for 2025 is Andor season 2 and Star Wars Visions. I don't think they call them seasons, whatever, part
Yeah,
3
so
or
I mean,
one.
pretty barren slate.
They said they might announce something at
Are there any video
Star Wars
games coming out? Probably not.
Celebration.
I mean, I don't think. Do you remember? I can't remember when it was, but it was like 2 years ago now. Eclipse.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard shit about that.
Well, I thought, didn't they originally announce that was going to be like a 2026 release? Like even when they sent that first trailer, it was like a
Yeah, that
ways
was in
away.
2022. So that was 4 years ago almost. Well, 3 years ago now. So going on 4 years. So, okay, if Eclipse is going to launch in 2026, which I highly doubt,
Yeah, I highly doubt it.
we haven't heard anything about it.
Well, maybe this is a good thing. Again, maybe they took their punches and they're reassessing everything and be like, all right, we got to reapproach this. We'll do another Andor season. That was success. Well, depending on how you define success. It won a lot of awards, or it was nominated for a lot of awards, so they did something right. Um, and they've, made it known that they're kind of moving back towards movies again because of all, you're going to have the Mandalorian Grogu movie. You have all these other projects. Again, they've been announced. Who knows if they're actually going to be made? But there's been a lot more investment into featured films. So maybe
Which
they
is a good time because I feel like the theaters have recaptured their magic.
is that sarcasm?
No,
Okay.
no. I feel
I haven't
like
seen a movie in the theater since last holidays, and that was the Wonka movie.
I went to Alien Romulus on my own
Yeah, I heard that
and
was good. That was good.
fucking loved it. I just love being back in the theater again.
And
It was like
Dune
really intense. And I was in those seats that like shake when you're like, oh, I almost pissed myself.
and the new Dune
Mostly because
movies
of shaking.
was
Yes,
received very
definitely saw that.
well.
Yeah.
Deadpool Wolverine was received very
I saw
well.
that in theaters. I was on a work trip and it was the night I flew in. Had nothing to do that night. So there's a theater like literally a 3-minute Uber ride.
Did you
So I
see the
was
second Gladiator movie?
no.
I
Mm.
haven't either. I want to see that too.
I heard it was okay.
It's not going to match the first one. There's no, the first one's top three movies of all time for me. There's no way it's going to meet that one.
Now, by the way, Mike, you'll be very, very proud of me. I rewatched in the last like week or so, week and a half, rewatched all of the Lord of the Rings extended versions of the movie.
It's funny. Everyone watches it during this time of year, I feel like.
Well, because you
They,
have so much more downtime.
yeah. They had a marathon on HBO for the not the Hobbit movies, but the Lord of the Rings movies. And since everyone was sick, we were kind of watching that while we were all sick.
I can't not watch the extended versions.
Oh yeah,
Oh
I
my
always
God. I
watch
mean, they're
the
long as shit, but
but
God, they're
worth it.
so good. And you
Worth
and you're
it.
just like, this was made over 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's
And
hard to
I
believe.
there's not one I mean, there's like very few times I'm taken out of it by how
The
the
CGI
CGI
or
looks or
special
something
effects.
like that. Like it's just I mean, what an accomplishment by Peter Jackson. These movies are timeless. In fact, all of them are on the top like 100 all-time movies, right? So just incredible. Why can't we recapture that? And then it just also makes you think, oh fuck, Rings of Power is just missing the mark so bad.
My brother and I were actually just talking about how Lord of the Rings franchise is timeless and like how certain franchises are a little more prone to being timeless. I feel like fantasy movies or sci-fi movies have a way better chance of being timeless because I mean 30 years now, 100 years from now, a fantasy world, you can't really like nothing really changes your perspective of that. I mean, like if you watched I, Robot 100 years from now, you'd be like, this, what's so like futuristic about this? You know what I'm saying?
You'd be like, you'd be like, this is actually a history documentary.
Yeah, like Space Odyssey 2001 or something like that.
Yeah.
So I feel like fantasy movies, sci-fi movies, if it's like Star Wars in a completely different universe, better chance of being timeless. So just funny that my brother and I were talking about it and you mentioned timeless.
I was
But yeah,
talking to my brother about this, kind of going off a little tangent. So that we're known to do that. But I mean, I would love it if they could find a way, and I don't know if this is possible at all, and maybe you would know more, but if they got the blessing from Tolkien estate to like write about the fourth age and find compelling stories within that time period, because like it's not all lollipops and rainbows, maybe towards the beginning after Sauron's defeated, but there's a power vacuum there. Someone's going to try to take that up that mantle. I was talking to my brother about this. Like, what would that look like? Would it be a disciple of Melkor? Would it be Melkor himself? Maybe you create like a whole new villain. Derek thinks that would tarnish the legacy a little bit. I think they could do it. I think they could create a whole new villain based on the lore. So you have the the
mm-hmm,
Valar,
mm-hmm,
and then you have the fallen Valar that was Melkor, who
yeah,
created, Sauron, or essentially created Sauron.
yeah,
People know the lore way better than I do. I read the Silmarillion, and then all the associated books. So
mm-hmm.
I just think that would be pretty cool,
Yeah.
and I don't know if it's possible.
I mean, back to your point, you got to find a way to get the rights. I think Peter Jackson's the only one that's gotten the blessing from them. I know Rings of Power got certain leniency rights, but they didn't get the rights to like the full material. I do
And what we
think
need to
so.
do, we need to sit down. We need to like write the best fucking book ever, like about the fourth age, and then present it to the family.
Well, I think the isn't it the grandson that is continuing the writings because he's the one that's been releasing the more recent books. I think it's the grandson.
Yeah, maybe. That'd be cool. There was obviously the Fall of Numenor,
Yeah.
but that was basically just amalgamating all the writings from Tolkien and putting them out in book.
Yeah, but I think I don't know if the grandson's necessarily writing like the Fall of Numenor or not, but he's the one that's taking all of J.R. Tolkien's works and putting them together
Correct.
because J.R. Tolkien just wrote all these like
Yeah, yeah.
scattered different stories,
I
history,
mean, that's
more
what the
so
Silmarillion is.
history more than anything. And now the grandson is coming and kind of filling the gaps and attaching them. I think that's what he's doing. And then these other stories are being built based off of those histories. And then like Rings of Power is being built based off of those histories because Amazon can, because they're the ones doing Rings of Power, right? Amazon,
Unfortunately, yes.
because they have the rights to write anything that hasn't been created in terms of content, which is why they're kind of not going along completely with Tolkien's histories. So they have leniencies there, but I don't know. They could do their own fourth age, but I think to your question about getting the rights, I think they're going to look at what Disney's done with Star Wars and be like, do we really want to take that risk? We see a lot of the content that's being created, not just with Star Wars and many things. And it's like, we're a little nervous about this. Unless Peter Jackson does it, I don't know if we want to give them the rights. So, and I think Peter Jackson, did he play a part in the War of Rohirrim? I can't remember. I know he's doing some with
I think
Hunt for
that's an
Gollum.
animated film. It's so weird because I mean, like, there's I haven't seen We're Here, but
I haven't either.
I've watched a lot of reviews and not really spoiler, but they've taken bits of they created a whole new character that was really never in the
Yeah.
show and made her the main character of the movie.
Yep.
And then you have
Again, they have freedom to what's not created.
Helm Hammerhand,
Yep.
who's a real character, right? He's the creator of Helm's Deep,
Yep.
and he's like somehow a side character in the movie. So I don't understand why they did that way.
But I think Peter
Yeah,
Jackson's doing Hunt for Gollum.
which I'm not super excited about.
I don't. It's not going to be entirely about Gollum.
Yeah,
There's a lot of big wars and a lot of things that went on in the time that Gandalf was searching for Gollum and Aragorn. Um, and I'm trying to think, was Elrond also searching for? I forget. But there's
I
a
mean,
lot.
something they could explore, and I forgot. So I know this is not a Lord of the Rings podcast by any means, but we don't really have much to talk about in Star Wars as far as what to look forward to in 2025. But like, where the fuck are the dwarves? And I know there's an answer to this. I don't
Mhm.
100% know what it is, but where the fuck are the dwarves during the fight for Middle Earth? Like, they're not all dead.
Well,
So
but I mean, you've read the Silmarillion, right?
yes,
And
it's been a while, and I've also read like now 100 books in between that. So
but the
I
fight, like the ring portion of it, is such a small actual portion of the fight for Middle Earth
yeah,
that's going on. Like, there's a lot that's going on that they can expand into, and I hope they do. I mean, there's other elf groups that they haven't talked about. There's what's the hidden elf fortress? Oh.
uh, I don't remember. I mean, obviously you have the Silmarils, you
Mhm.
know, which were
Yeah, remember when
uh,
they stole the Silmaril from Morgoth? Like, that's a
yeah,
cool story.
yeah.
What do they do? Disguise themselves and then I don't know, played a enchanting song. I don't. But there's so much to talk about, and the dwarves are fighting I think they're what, southern area
Yeah.
of Middle Earth. Um, so they're there, but just not actually following the ring that the path that
Well,
Frodo
because it's
took.
referenced in the movie, in the extended cut, because they're like, there's only one dwarf in the entire movie,
Yeah, right.
and they're like, where.
Oh, there's a couple, they have the meeting of Elrond and they're talking about the fellowship and who will take the ring. There's a couple more dwarves there. Durin
I
is
don't
there.
remember seeing them.
You don't remember seeing it? Durin's in there. I think it's Durin.
Oh. Maybe I'd have to look back. You're
When
right,
it
but
when he's like, and you can have my axe. He came with a couple other dwarves to that meeting.
yeah, uh, it gives you a lot of context into Boromir's character, the
Mhm.
extended version.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So yeah, the extended versions are so good. I mean, so
There's some
freaking
of those
good.
things that are in the extended version that's like, how did you leave that out?
Yeah, yeah,
Like when what's her face is handing the gifts to all the fellowship
yeah,
people, like you have no idea where this light of what Elrond or whatever,
yeah.
she gives it to him, but there's no explanation to it. Or like the cloaks that all the they're wearing, and there's that scene where they're hiding under the cloak, and you're
Yeah,
like,
because it looks
well,
like a rock.
yeah, like how do they not see you? Oh, because the robes are actually enchanted and make you invisible. Okay, well, that would have been good information to have at the time for seeing this, but yeah, no, not to talk too much more about it, but there's a lot of interesting directions they can go in that franchise, and I hope they do. But again, they got to do it right, because I like Star Wars is already getting tarnished in certain ways by Disney. I would hate to see the same thing happen with the Lord of the Rings, because those are my top two. Number one is Star Wars. Number two is Lord of the Rings. So
Yeah, I guess to finish up, the point on this is, I guess the reason we even start talking about Lord of the Rings is because there's just not a lot coming out in 2024 that's marquee
25.
stuff. Yeah, shit, 2025. There's not much coming out this year.
Yeah,
This
this
year
year.
now that I mean, you have one thing that's Andor. Really, I'm not
That's been
counting
announced.
Visions.
They said that there might be something revealed at Star Wars Celebration, but what that would be for like the end of the year. Maybe it's like a new animated show, or like another Tales of the Jedi, Tales of the Empire. Because wasn't Tales of the Empire this past year?
Yeah,
And that was kind of Tales of the Jedi was way better than Tales of the Empire, in my opinion.
correct.
So who knows? Who knows what they'll do? All right. Well, I think, should we wrap it up there, or
Wrap it up.
anything else you wanna?
I got some off-air stuff I want to talk to you about.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
All right. Well, we'll keep that between Dustin and I. So I'm sorry,
cliffhanger.
everyone. I'm sorry, Star Wars Gazer. You're just gonna have to miss what we have to say. No, I'm just kidding. Um. Anyways, well, this is our first episode for season 5 again. So glad to see we're still, even though Star Wars might not be continuing much in 2025, we will be continuing on. So you can find us on Twitter at DetBlockAA23pod, on Instagram at detention underscore block underscore AA underscore 23, and Facebook group and YouTube channels, Detention Block AA23, a Star Wars podcast. And you can find us on TikTok at DetBlock AA23. Again, hit that subscribe button, give us those follows, downloads, subscriptions, ratings, reviews, all of it. We greatly appreciate any little thing that you can do. Again, Happy New Year. Hope you had a great, wonderful holiday season. Next week, we'll return to talking more Skeleton Crew. So looking forward to catching up on all of that and hearing what everyone has to say about the past couple episodes. Like Dustin and I said, we're still enjoying it. You've seen both of them, right?
Hmm.
Okay. So again, we'll get more into that next week. With that, have a great rest of your day. Have a great rest of your week. And we look forward to catching up with you guys next week. Till then, may the force be with you.